When I was 15, I would look at adults having tea on the deck and think, wow, that's lame. Why aren't they doing things? Well, I certainly don't want that to be all of my life, but I now realize that getting to that point is an achievement. Really. Pause this video and count 12 breaths and aim to make the counting of those breaths your only thoughts. Ready? Go. Who made it? What just popped into your head? What was your default inner dialogue like? Did things bubble up that you pushed away? Why were you thinking what you were? I'd consider these important questions since it is your everyday life. And what is more important to you? I'd like to make an observation that our society is set up in a way that makes it easy to suppress trauma. And here's a funny thing. Everybody has trauma. Our biggest exports in the West are not cars or planes or boats. It's trauma. We export trauma. And I don't even mean the abysmal things that can happen to an individual, the things that make our jaws drop. I mean, yes to that too, but trauma is also purely subjective. Just spending too much time in the burnout zone, whatever that means to an individual, can be a great source of trauma. And this trauma has an array of effects, irrational desires to help alleviate certain traits. The list goes on for so long. And this is common to everyone. I want to envision a world where it is the norm to address said trauma, which is capital T, truthfully inevitable. And God, there's every reason not to look into the depths of us. It's hard to navigate. I've had the feeling, and it seems silly to say out loud, but of the thought that is, wow, if I look this thing square in the face, it is going to kill me. It's like keeping your eyes open in the scariest horror movie that is your memories. Carl Jung says, no one should deny the danger of the descent, but it can be risked. No one need risk it, but it is certain that some will. And let those who go down the sunset way do so with open eyes, for it is a sacrifice which daunts even the gods. Yet every descent is followed by an ascent. And it's scary to do so. I mean, we say our traumas are in the past, but it's easy to let suffering become a large part of one's identity. And when you shave it away, you don't even know who you are anymore. That's horrifying. I mean, for the phoenix to rise from the ashes, there must be ashes, and doing that is horrifying. But man, there is every reason to explore these parts of us, because you can conquer it. It's hard. It is maybe the hardest, but it's so meaningful, and this comes with profound liberation and profound freedom. Nietzsche often speaks about children as the real adults, those who build sandcastles close to the waves, knowing they will get knocked down, but then rebuild them better and better to be seen and used in the world as more beautiful each time. For he knows if a temple is to be erected, a temple must be destroyed. And from this, powerfully, one can learn to love one's fate, to become so evolved with what they have discovered. So, I wish that never happened. It won't be a phrase that they utter. To see their past, no matter how tragic, is something sacred, something that allows for the building of who they are today, something that provided so much wisdom of how to act in the now. The only way to find truth is to experience and reflect, and to take so much ownership in your new wisdom that you don't want to go back. This is Nietzsche's idea of loving one's fates, being reborn, more childlike because you've just destroyed parts of yourself, but 100 times subtler than one has ever been before. And the price to pay for not working these things on a global level is steep. It's amazing what monsters trauma has created. I look at the horrible things that have happened, the reprehensible men, and almost feel a pity and empathy in the worst of ways. What could they have gone through to make them this way? We are biologically hardwired for love and connection. So what happened to these men? I fully think those who aren't acting to gain love and connection, which just starts with simple kindness, are suffering from trauma. What unaddressed trauma has put such reprehensible things in their lens of self-interest? I mean, in just one of so many examples, in the words of one wise man, what has caused fear to move in where trust should be? I mean, a betrayal of trust can cause you to doubt others and even yourself, stripping you of the full power of love and connection. And what fundamental assumptions about our world have been created for such reasons? I mean, man, just looking at international relations, realism is the dominant political lens. which assumes the world to be a Machiavellian, dominate or be dominated, shark-like, trust nobody world, a world that assumes you attain power or be oppressed. Like God, not only is that mentality indicative of common trauma, but it leads to absolute insanity. We get things like nuclear umbrellas, where the most powerful idea, stopping nuclear annihilation, is essentially, well, I won't get nuked because then they'll know that I'll nuke them, which is appropriately titled MAD, which stands for Mutually Assured Destruction. That's insane, and that's just one reality that could be traced back to trauma. But imagine what life could look like if we accepted the fact that we have and will endure trauma, but we can work through it and become more powerful from it. And God, the world isn't set up for this. It's seriously set up to allow us to suppress and be rewarded for it. As Nietzsche says, living in a constant chase after gain compels people to expend their spirit to the point of exhaustion and continual pretense and overreaching and anticipating other. Virtue has come to consist of doing something in less time than someone else. Hours in which honesty is permitted have become rare, and when they arrive, one is tired and does not want to let oneself go, but actually wishes to stretch out as long and wide and ungainly as one happens to be. As Aldous Huxley says, a love of nature keeps no factories busy. I mean, most of us drive with the radio on so we don't hear our own thoughts. We eat or drink or shop or keep busy to avoid descending into the conquerable abyss because we don't recognize its potential. And we're rewarded for doing so. And I don't claim it's by accident. As Huxley says, a love of nature keeps no factories busy. And God, the privileged can do this even easier. It's hard to feel the full wrath of buried traumas sitting comfortably on a couch with a delicious meal in your lap and a beer by your side. Comfort's the real drug here. This is a truth that Huxley realized. At the end of the book, A Brave New World, the main character exclaims, "But I don't want comfort, I want God, I want poetry, I want real danger, I want freedom, I want goodness." Personally, I want to do everything I can to ensure I'm pursuing the best of meaningful pleasures, not just acting in ways to bury down trauma. I want to live harmoniously, a truly just life with true freedom. I'm a huge pragmatic optimist. Not, it'll be okay because I feel so, but it'll be okay because the tools exist to make it okay. And I've seen what amazing phoenixes can rise from the ashes. Only a little bit in myself, but a lot in others. So I beg for a norm where everyone seeks quality leisure time. And, it's scary to sink into these depths. It's hard to find a place to let these things bubble up and then find a place to work through them, but such places exist. I mean, just imagine what shame, fear, guilt, lies, and illusion are buried deep within that need not anymore, that cannot come up as a bomb but as potential to be molded. That is a lot easier said than done. Personally, I think I'd do like 2% of this on a good day, but it's one hell of an ideal to strive for, and it's obtainable. So, when the time is right, let's let down the defenses, what we grab, what we stay busy with, to stop real reflection. And let's see what bubbles up in a trusted environment with enough love and connection to guide us through it. And I mean that abstractly. What that looks like, whether it be tantric practices, or video games, or music, or writing, or a dance party on the beach, it's up to you. But I argue that a walk in the woods with friends, or sitting on the deck drinking tea with a buddy, can be the most productive thing you do in a day for the well-being of yourself and the world. Really. Drink some tea. Chill can be an admirable place to be. Saying that I'm not afraid to venture down into the dark. But will you stand by me as I embark? This uncharted territory is arbitrarily scary, so walk with me and let's be wary. And though it is the meaningful type of tough, the walls of this cave are still quite rough. So if all you are is good and kind, then that's enough. I'm no longer chained, down here I'm free, but that comes with the costs. I'm just not sure what I'm trying to be. I'm no longer bound to a deceiving show. Instead, I'm walking slowly, carefully, to a warm, real glow.